Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back into another edition of Keytime Sports. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Keytime Sports on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the Key on Millions.co. Week 7 of the college football season is finally in the books. There were 3 top 25 matchups that I covered over the weekend, and I am going to give you all a breakdown and some visual footage from the games. Now, the first game I'm going to cover is the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Illinois Fighting Illini. Ohio State, everybody is saying, is Ohio State for real? Who have they played on their schedule? They haven't played anybody outside of maybe Texas. And we all know that Texas, they are a work in progress right now with Arch Manning at the fold. But as far as what Ohio State did on Saturday versus Illinois, they did what they were supposed to do. They were favored in this game by 14 and they won by 16. So Julian Sand, 19 of 27, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. The Ohio State rushing attack, you had over 100 yards, 106 yards to be exact. You had Bo Jackson with 47, C.J. Donaldson with 44, James Peoples with 7, Isaiah West with 4, Jeremiah Smith with 3, Nate Roberts with 1, Julian Sand with 3, and that's it as far as who all ran the ball. Now, as far as wide receiver core for the Ohio State Buckeyes, Jeremiah Smith, 42 yards, Carnell Tate, 41 yards, Max Clare, 38, Bo Jackson, 20, Brandon Ennis, 14, Will Carmack, 7, CJ Daniel Donaldson, 4. So 166 yards. Now, one thing I can say is Ohio State's offense is a fine-tuned scoring machine. However, the Illinois Fighting Illini defense, that defense wasn't able to stop anything at all. They weren't. And as you can see, these statistics, I go to team statistics and third down efficiency, I pretty much said this without even looking at it. Offensively, Ohio State was very efficient. 8 of 15, I actually thought that it was 8 of 13 at the end of the game. And on fourth down, 1 for 1. Total yards, 272 yards. Now, Illinois, they had more yards than Ohio State, but like I said last week, more yards doesn't equal more points. Like I said, Illinois, they can dominate the statistics all throughout the game, but the main statistic is if you win the game or lose the game. And Illinois, they did not win the game. They allowed, as far as yards per pass, 6.1 yards per pass with Ohio State. And yards per play, the yards per play was 5.6. 5.6 yards per play. So that's why Ohio State was in a lot of second down and shorts, third and shorts too, because obviously Illinois' run defense is bad and it is near the bottom of college football. It is. So all in all, this was I predicted that this would be a blowout. It was 20-3 at one point. But we all know that some blowouts come in different fashions. See, this game, it was not close at all. Despite what the score says, 34-16, it didn't feel like 34-16. This game felt like 54-6 throughout the game when I was looking at it. That's what it felt like. But all in all, Ohio State is still undefeated, still number one in the rankings. And Illinois, they should not be ranked at all. College Football Ranking Committee, please do us a favor. Please do me a favor. Do not put Illinois back in the rankings because I do not want to cover another Illinois game because I've covered two Illinois games, one where Illinois won over USC and another one where Illinois got their brakes beat off by Indiana. Now I'm going to talk about Indiana later on in the show, but Illinois should not be ranked and they shouldn't have even been number 9 to be fair when it comes to the rankings at the start of the season. So, congratulations to Ohio State on staying undefeated and still being number 1 in the rankings. The next game I am going to cover, this is going to be a quick show, guys. The next game I am going to cover is Alabama and Missouri. Now, Missouri's quarterback he's not it. He is not it at all. 16 to 28, 167 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and those 2 interceptions proved costly. Now, a lot of times throughout this game, Missouri, Brett Bielema was their leading rusher. And he was their leading rusher throughout the entirety of the game. 11 carries, 61 yards. To me, when you have your quarterback, well, I'm going to say this, in some situations, when you have your quarterback as your leading rusher and he has more yards on the ground than passing yards, that means that either you don't trust your quarterback to make those tight window throws when needed, or you're a run-oriented offense and 85% of your plays are runs. So Missouri, what I take away from that is they didn't want to mess up the game and make this game a blowout. So that's why they ran the ball. Because one time they ran the ball, I would say 6 straight times. And even though that they did get a 3 and out a couple of times during the game, they still was able to run the ball. But like I said, I'm going to get to the Alabama defense in a little bit. But Missouri, as far as their quarterback, sometimes as a quarterback, you have to throw your way to a victory. And what I mean by throw your way, sometimes your opponent on defense, they are gonna stop the run, and so that puts everything back on the quarterback to put a pass here, put a pass there for the wide receiver to catch it. And with this guy, with Boo Pribula, he is not the quarterback to throw the Missouri Tigers to victory. And I can say this, Missouri, one of the top teams in rushing in college football. Passing, they're middle of the pack when it comes to passing in college football. So you can see right there that they're run oriented first, and if the run game isn't good, then they are going to lose, and that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened Saturday. Now let me get to Alabama. Alabama Crimson Tide. Now Ty Simpson, 23 of 31, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. The rushing attack, pretty good, cracked over 100 yards. Very complimentary football. The wide receivers, they had a decent game. Everything came together for Alabama. Everything did. Now, Kane Womack, defensive coordinator for Alabama, still is playing that three down lineman set, three down lineman formation. Now, it didn't. No, I'm going to say this. What I'm going to say about the Alabama defense is three down linemen. It's not going to work. It's really not. And they were on the verge of losing this game if it wasn't for the interception. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on. But as far as the Alabama defense concerned, I do see improvement. I do. I see improvement because when you look at it as far as the defense down here, you see that there were a lot of missed tackles, but when the defense needed to step up in the end, they stepped up. And as far as when it comes to that interception, now Missouri, the wide receiver, he was surprised. The wide receiver, Missouri's top wide receiver, he was surprised that they didn't throw the ball to him because he was wide open. He was. So even if he gets the ball, he may have a good 25, 30 yards, and they could have lined up and kicked a game time field goal and send the game into overtime. But Bo Prue he threw the ball into double coverage, and then it was intercepted. So for Alabama, one thing I'm going to say about Alabama, they had a bump in the road with Florida State. They did. They had a bump in the road with Florida State early in the season. Now we know who Florida State is. That loss is not going to hinder them as much as we initially thought. Because Florida State, they just lost Saturday. They are now 3-3. So as far as a loss like that, it's not going to hold no weight when it comes to the college football playoff. College football playoff, Alabama, they are still in the running for it. They are. So all in all, well, I'm going to give y'all the statistics for the entirety of this game. All in all, as far as third down efficiency, that is where Missouri lost the game. 1 of 10 on third down. That's the game right there for the Missouri Tigers. If you cannot efficiently keep your team on the field, keep your offense on the field when it comes to third down, you are going to lose. You are. You're going to lose. And Alabama, they didn't do much better, 6 of 15. I mean, on fourth down, they made every fourth down conversion that they attempted. But there's always room for improvement with both of these teams. Now, Missouri, I could see them getting to a bowl game, but as far as college football playoff, I don't see that happening. Now, this year marks the first time of the 12-team college football playoff. Now, somebody, and I do mean somebody, y'all can say that it's not going to happen. I've heard a lot of people, a lot of executives that I've talked to, a lot of people that I follow, they say that there is going to be a 3 to 4 loss team to get in the college football playoff. So we are at that time right now where one loss doesn't hurt your whole season. 2 losses don't hurt your season. 3 losses, you getting up there, and a 4th loss, you have no margin for error. You have no margin for error. So if Missouri somehow gets back into the college football playoff chase, they can't lose another game. They just can't, because their schedule is pretty much it's pretty much easy, because when you look at it, now Auburn, We all know that Auburn is a tough matchup. Vanderbilt, all depends on what Vanderbilt team you get. Texas A&M, we already knew what they did versus Florida. Mississippi State, they're a good team. Oklahoma is a good team. And Arkansas, they took Tennessee to the last play of the game on Saturday. So Missouri, they got kind of, a mid. This schedule is mid, meaning that some of these games they should be able to win. Auburn, they don't have a good offense, so Missouri should be able to win that. Vanderbilt, you're gonna have a tough time with Vanderbilt if Diego Pavia is still doing the same things that he usually do when it comes to throwing and running. But one thing I can say about Alabama is sitting good and high right now. They are. They are sitting good and high. Now, the last thing I want to talk about the last sequence of the Bama Mizzou game. Now this is third down and 3 for Alabama. They don't get the first down. Missouri's defense comes up and makes the stop. And now, well, they took their final timeout. Now 58 seconds left. 58 seconds left, and ball is at the 26. Here it is. First down for the Missouri Tigers. Now, right here, if I'm the Missouri Tigers, I would have ran the ball because you have 52 seconds, and even though that you're trying to go and win the game, you don't want to waste precious seconds. 3rd and 10, down the field, and they'll go that interception I was talking about. Now, number 2, right here, number 2, he was wide open. Number 2 was wide open, and he was surprised that the ball didn't go to him. Like I said, this might be a loss that will hurt the Missouri Tigers. And I can see that happening too. I can, because he threw that ball into double coverage. Yeah, double coverage. He threw that ball into double coverage, and you had your wide receiver, number 2, he was wide open. He was. So the Missouri Tigers, this loss is going to prove costly in the long run. It will. The next game I'm going to cover is the game of all games for Saturday. I don't know how long I am going to stay on this game, but Indiana versus Oregon, congratulations to Indiana, because Kurt Cinetti, since he has been the head coach of the Indiana Hoosiers, which has only been a good year and a half, he hasn't been able to get a top 10 road win at all. But Saturday, things change. As we can see, Fernando Mendoza, 20 of 31, 215 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, excuse me. Dante Moore, 21 of 34, 186 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. One thing I can say about the Oregon offense, it was neutralized. It was neutralized Saturday because nobody, and I do mean nobody on Oregon's offense, as far as rushing or receiving, cracked over 60 yards. They didn't. And we are always used to, Oregon averaging 27, 30 points. But to keep the Oregon offense at 20 points, I got to give credit where credit is due. the Indiana defense, props to them because offensively, they did what they were supposed to do. Offensively, receiving, you can see that Elijah Sarek, he had over 100 yards. Omar Cooper Jr., he had 58. Now, a game like this, turnovers are critical. And Dante Moore, he had 2 interceptions, and that proved costly in this game. Without those 2 interceptions, this game goes into overtime. Now, Oregon, I said after this game, Oregon would be 7th or 8th in the rankings, and I believe that they are that, 7th or 8th. But as far as offensively, Oregon, this was the worst offensive game for Oregon throughout the entirety of the season. It was. You can see it. Third down efficiency. Neither team had a good day on third down in this game. 5 of 14 for Indiana, 3 of 14 for Oregon. Fourth down efficiency, 0 of 1 for Indiana. Also for Oregon, 3 of 4 on fourth down. Total yards, total yards for Indiana, 326 versus 267. Now, one thing I can say about this game is as far as penalties played a role in this game too. Indiana had 8 penalties for 45 yards. Oregon had 7 penalties for 64 yards. Time of possession was plus 7 minutes for the Indiana Hoosiers. Now this game, I'm going to go take it to the last sequence of this game. Now y'all see the score, 27-20. Fourth quarter, 6 minutes, 23 seconds left. This is when Oregon gets the ball. And they are down by 7. So there was so much that came together on this first play. Dante Moore, everything. Now, I'm going to go back. Everybody was covered. Everybody was covered. You see this, everybody. Wide receiver here is covered by that guy. Wide receiver here is covered. Wide receiver here is covered. And the running back is going to be covered by this guy. See, this is why I say that props to Indiana's defense. And this is what ultimately leads to the sack because nobody could get open. And I do mean nobody. That's what leads to the sack. 2nd and 13, pretty much the same thing right here. See, they always had negative yards. Oregon had negative yards most of the time. They went from 1st and 10 to either 2nd and 12 or 2nd and 14. Don't you see this? So 2nd and 13, nobody, and I do mean nobody, was open. Everybody, and I do mean everybody was covered. See, this guy right here is going to be covered. And then this guy, he is the quarterback spy. He's supposed to keep his eyes on this guy. On Dante Moore, he's supposed to keep his eyes there. And as you could see, he goes back. He is right there. And he is the one that initiated the interception. See, Moore, he already knows where he's going. He does that signal to his running back, throws it. Everybody, and I do mean everybody, read his eyes. And as you can see, the pass was deflected by number 8, and number 7 got it. Now, see, this is basically where the game pretty much turned on its head. Indiana could have went up 2 scores, which they did. Oregon's defense, run defense, they stopped them. And as far as the field goal concerned, they get the field goal, and the game was pretty much done after that. Now, what I can see with this game, does this loss hurt Oregon? Does it? I believe so. I believe that this is going to hurt Oregon in the long run. Now, here's the recent college football rankings for this coming week. And as you can see, Ohio State still number 1, Miami 2, Indiana 3, Texas 4, Ole Miss 5, Alabama is 6, Texas Tech is 7, Oregon is at 8, 9 is Georgia. And you can see at the bottom there are plenty of new teams. Now, I don't have a problem with this list at all. I don't. Because I believe that Ohio State, if anybody can knock off Ohio State, it's going to have to be somebody other than Michigan. That's what I think. It's going to be somebody other than Michigan. And worst case scenario for Ohio State, they lose in the national championship game. Best case scenario, they repeat as national champions. So that is how I see this college football season unfolding. We are at this is week 7 right now. This upcoming week, we are headed into week 8. Pretty soon, the college football playoff committee will start making their judgment. Their judgment on who is number 1 through 12. Now, one thing I can see is nobody, and I do mean nobody, on this list right now in the top 25 has lost more than 2 games, and that's Notre Dame. Now, does Notre Dame still have a fighting chance at making the college football playoff? Yes, they do, but they can't lose another game. They can't. And there are a lot more other teams that can't afford to lose another game. It's a lot. It's a lot of teams. So all in all, it was a very entertaining college football Saturday. And with that, those are my reactions to Oregon, Indiana, Ohio State, Illinois, and Alabama, Missouri. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Key City Sports on Instagram, Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, and the KeyOnMillions.co. Remember, everybody, one last thing. The key is always on time.